Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Exalted One, and the fully enlightened one. May the blessings of the Triple Gem be upon you all, Dhamma friends. Today, I'm going to talk about the next paragraph about clinging that comes in the Sammaditthi Sutta. This is one of the most important parts of this, the links of the dependent origination. So, we should understand, we should listen to the sutra explanation. We should try to understand what this clinging is clearly. Then we will be able to grasp the proper meaning of clinging and this Dhamma factor. We will be able to harbor factor in our heart, in our mind. Then we can practice the Dhamma so that clinging will never happen in our life. We can be free from clinging completely, and we can attain the unclinging Nibbana one day. For that, this Dhamma listening is most important. This is a basis, foundation and ground. So today, while we are having this Dhamma discussion, I kindly wish you all to have mindfulness and wholesome energy, investigation of Dhamma practice, and mostly concentration, wisdom, these wholesome qualities. May this wholesome quality just rise in your mind and work properly so that you can listen to this Dhamma, you can understand this Dhamma, you can make this Dhamma listening as a path to freedom. That is my kind wish for every one of you at the very beginning of this Dhamma session. As said before, we can turn to the Sutra Sammaditthi. In the last Dhamma session, we talked and discussed about becoming or bhava. Today, after becoming, we are going to discuss clinging. So we can have the sutra and see what it says. So Venerable Sariputta was the master that time, just addressing the group of monks with these Dhamma factors. The right view is the most important Dhamma resource we should focus on. Today, we can try to understand Sammaditthi according to this topic. This is clinging. The discussion goes like this. Saying, good friends, having delighted in and approved of Venerable Sariputta's words, the monks asked him a further question. Would there be another line? Would there be another line of reasoning by which a disciple of a noble one, person of right view, has arrived at this true Dhamma? This is the question from the Dhamma friends or the group of monks sitting in front of the Venerable Sariputta. Venerable Sariputta's answer is like this. When a disciple of the noble ones discerns clinging, the origination of clinging, the cessation of clinging, and the way of practicing leading to the cessation of clinging, there is a person of right view as right at this Dhamma. Here we should not forget that the last phrase, that at this true Dhamma, which is Nibbana. True Dhamma is Nibbana. Someone has arrived at true Dhamma. So the purpose of having, purpose of developing, purpose of growing Sammaditthi in us is to attain that the final goal, which is Nibbana. So it says, what is clinging? what is the origination of clinging? What is the cessation of clinging? What is the way of practice leading to the cessation of clinging? So firstly, Venerable Sariputta said, how to gain Sammaditthi, that means you have to understand what's the clinging is, and the origination of clinging, cessation of clinging, and also the way leading to the cessation of clinging. So if someone has these four, and then Sammaditthi is there, it says that there are four clinging. So first of all, we should understand what clinging is. What clinging is. There are four kinds of clinging. The sensuality clinging. Second is clinging to views, precepts and practice, the clinging, and doctrine of self-clinging. In other words, you can say that sensuous clinging and clinging to views and clinging to rules and rituals. And the other one is, fourth one is clinging to the personality views, personality belief. So it would be good for us to understand these four in order. Number one, clinging. The meaning of this word clinging, one of the most venerable monks in the past, he was saying that upadana, or the clinging, intensified degree of craving, which is tanha. Craving is tanha. But here upadana is intensified, very strong degree of craving. Then we can understand two types of craving. Just a light type of craving and a strong, firm and intensified craving. When you have intensified craving, which is clinging, upadana, it's very difficult to get rid of, to remove from your mind, to remove from your heart. So that is upadana, that is the clinging. The clinging means you hang on strongly so that you don't fall out. Intensified craving. It says again, from the origination of craving comes the origination of clinging. From the cessation of craving comes the cessation of clinging. And the way of practice leading to the cessation of clinging is just this very noble eightfold path. Only this noble eightfold path, middle path, is the way that you can get rid of craving. That is starting from right view, right understanding, speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. It says that when a disciple of a noble ones, noble lineage, discerns clinging, he comes to understand and discern clinging, the origination of it, the cessation of it, the way practice leading to cessation of it. Then definitely he will have that right understanding, right view. Because having entirely abandoned passion, obsession, having abolished aversion, obsession, having uprooted the views and conceit, obsession, having abandoned ignorance and given rise to clear knowledge. He has put an end to suffering. It is to this extent that the disciple of the noble ones is person that is having right views, right understanding. So we can try to understand what the four clingings. Sensuous clinging is that we all have sense bases, sense doors, eye, ear, nose, tongue, and the body. So these five sense doors or sense bases are always active. If you have a very healthy eyes, healthy ears, healthy nose, healthy tongue, healthy body, always sensitivity is there. And these five sense doors always busy with their relevant objects, inside, outside, mostly outside. So relevant objects are there, pleasurable visual objects and animate or inanimate and near or far. Sound, pleasurable and agreeable sounds, pleasing sounds. So when these five pleasurable, pleasant objects come to your sense doors, something happens. From your inner mind, That means that sleeping craving rises and wakes up. The sleeping craving wakes up. And also after that, the very big, weakly sleeping Padan or that clinging also wakes up. Then clinging clings on to these objects outside, sensuous objects, pleasurable objects, pleasurable visual objects, sight, sounds. And also here we should try to understand these two, craving and clinging together. It would be good for us to understand it. Craving is like a baby. Clinging is like a very strong glue. Yes, gluing aspect is there in craving. When it grows and when it becomes a firm and intensified, then it's like a strong glue so that you can't separate from the object. So whatever objects come to your eyes, nose, ears, tongue, body, if it is pleasurable and pleasing and agreeable, craving goes first and clinging follows after that. And the objects are strongly clung by the craving. You can't just free your mind after that. So the sensuous clinging is the most operative in our lives because we are born into an environment where these sensuous objects, full of sensuous objects, is comparing to the divine celestial world. This human world is inferior in one way regarding these sensuous objects, but very fine and refined and very pleasurable objects are much available in divine worlds and celestial world. But here we call this human world, human realm is a sensuous world. Why? Because these sights, visual things, pleasurable objects, which is sounds, and these pleasurable smells and good smells, taste, and the pleasurable feelings, everything is there here in this human world. So we are born into this human world where these sensuous objects are available. That means everywhere we can see. We can't live a life completely free of these things. Why? Because we have come to an environment where these full of these sensuous objects. Therefore, that sleeping, clinging, sleeping, craving, just every time, every moment, when it comes in contact with these sensuous objects, just wakes up. So this is simply sensuous clinging and craving. Is one of the upadana. The second one is clinging to views. To certain degree, we can understand what that sensuous clinging is, because from some of the other Dhamma talks also we have read, we have listened, we have understood this sensuous clinging, and also the objects. But is the weave is something different. Weaves are kind of views that you are framed in your own views, your own perceptions. It's like this. People in our society practice generosity. They look after their mothers. They look after their fathers. They look after their parents. Why? They believe that by looking after your parents, you can accumulate some meritorious things. That means merits or wholesome states. You can generate, you can achieve, you can gain some wholesome things in your mind. With that purpose, people look after their parents. Kindness is also applied to their compassion, kindness, love, everything is there. But some people have that karmic understand of the karmic effect, the cause. And also people do practice generosity and they offer dana and food. Some needs to sadhus, that means monks and sages, ascetics, sometimes the poor people, sometimes animals. They just believe that karma, just feeding others by practicing generosity. You can accumulate, you can gather merit. That understanding, that belief is there. Also, you believe life after death and cause and effect. These are called right understanding. But here, clinging to view is different. The person who has that clinging to view, that miccha ditti, has a belief like, say, what is the clinging to views? Alms and offerings are useless, fruitless, and useless, fruitless, no benefits at all. There is no fruit or reward or results for good and bad deeds. Whatever karma you perform with your words, physical body, and mind, it does not generate any karma. That view is there. So, people have some views, some beliefs. Share something what I experienced in my life. And a couple of decades ago, I used to be in England and at the Amaravati monastery. So, from time to time, some people visited there when I was there. They really wanted to have a Dham discussion. They had some different views. Some have, some people, some devotees have strong views about making this world a kind of peaceful platform for everyone. It is impossible, but they have kind of views. And also amongst them, there was a family, father, son, the wife, and sons, daughters. They have this views. They say that after this life, there won't be any life, no birth, nothing. Only this birth, only this life. So until the last death moment, until the last breath, you have to enjoy this life as much as you can. And after that, there won't be, not going to be anything after death, only this life. But traditionally, we do look after monks and also we cook for them. We feed them when monks arrive at your house or home on arms round. Then we just offer some food into their bowls. It's a kind of traditional things. So people can gain some sort of happiness from such actions. So other than that, there isn't anything as merit or wholesome things. So such a belief, such a strong belief, some of the families had, not only in England, but some in Sri Lanka, India, Australia, New Zealand, everywhere. People, there are some people, they don't have that karmic understanding, karmic belief. That is why they just do so many bad things. Harming others, killing animals, killing people, slaughtering and assassination. There's some good characters and also people, because they don't have that belief. They don't have that understanding. They have strong belief, strong perception, strong cling to that belief. And no karma, no life, nothing. Even though, they are going to be proof with, scientific discoveries, they don't pay their attention. They're not going to listen to such things because their strong view does not allow them to listen and turn to the other side. It happens during the Buddha's time as well. The Buddha met so many different people. Sometimes some weavers came to the Buddha and the Buddha tried. And also just with similes, some of the people, some of the sages, some of the devotees and friends were converted to the Sammaditthi, but some of the ascetics, Even though the Buddha explained in righteous way the Dhamma factors, the cause and effect, they never changed. They were never converted. And they could not understand because they are strong clinging. They are clinging to view is their choice. Clinging to view is their, the platform to live on. So these kind of things, no father, no mother, and we say that, karmically and traditionally, and also in this gratefully we say that it is our parents look after us. They brought us up in the society. Therefore, it is our duty, it is our responsibility to look after them in return. And also by that way, we can develop merits and we can gather merits. It is a kind of blessing to our life and we can do practice at home. That is our understanding. They don't have that. They say that it is their responsibility to look after us. And we should not pay for them. We can look after our children. That's all. So such views they have. So they are strongly to those views. You can't disconnect them from those views. It's called clinging to views. Third one is clinging to rules and rituals. Why it comes in this way? Rules and rituals, precepts and rituals. There are some sort of things in this world, like some believe that by performing rules and rituals and just doing these rules and rituals and offering and pujas, only by that way we can find our final emancipation, freedom from this world. They do not practice meditation, no any other things, righteous way, no Dhamma. They do believe only that rules and rituals is the only path. That's why we hear, even today we can find in India and some other areas, geographically under other countries, kind of rituals in this way. Some ascetics, they just collect firewood and they burn it and making a huge fireplace. Then they just get closer to the fire and also they heat their body. It's a kind of rules and ritual because they believe that by that way they can burn their unwholesome energy and negative energy. But the problem is they don't understand while you're going to burn your negative energy just getting closer to the fireplace, probably the wholesome things, meritorious energy also can be burned. But they don't just care of it. Some people have that belief. That is why when we go to India, everywhere you can find sadhus as ascetics, and sometimes they sit in the sun, a very hot sun. But for such weavers of rules and rituals, it's a kind of blessing. They can sit in the sun. They burn their body. And they are very much clung to these rules and rituals. Silabbata paramas. And some nigantas, that means naked ascetics, they also followed rituals, behaving like a dog, behaving like a bull, behaving like a cow. They don't use plates when eating food. They put everything on the ground and eat it. They don't use fingers and any spoons, but just like dog. And these things that behave in that way, they can purify their life. They can attain the final freedom. Actually, it is many thousands of believers and practices we can find even today in Indian soil. I can't say that in some other countries, but definitely they are available. They are in India. Rules and rituals is a strong view. The next one is clinging to the personality belief, because it is common with everyone. Personality belief, personality view, that belief and perception that there is a soul, there is a strong, unchanging self in us. So if you are clinging to that personality belief, you can't find that final freedom. As long as you are bound by this belief, no complete freedom for you. So these are the 4 types of clingings that explained in this sutra. So this is how it is. Now, the opposite of it. We should understand separately, one by one, these 4 kinds of clingings. Having understood these 4 types of clinging, then we should understand why these clingings happen in us. And because craving for sensual clinging, craving for views, craving for rules and rituals, craving for personality belief. If there is a craving for this thing, clinging happens. So because following craving, clinging will rise. Clinging will rise. So when you come to understand these 4, it's a kind of knowledge. Knowledge about these views, these clingings. Then you have to find the cause of it. Cause of it is craving. When there is no craving for these things, no clinging happens. And where can that be? No clinging at all. Only one place. Only one place. Only one element. That is the Nibbana. Nibbanic element. To Nibbanic element, we don't cling, we don't crave. But sometimes people may ask questions like this without having an interest in attaining Nibbana. How can we just follow a path? Yes, just for ordinary people, it may happen in that way. Because ordinary people, just average people, hear Dhamma and also Nibbana. But we have not experienced it in reality. We hear about Nibbana, then we just mentally create a kind of Nibbana according to our understanding. Then we crave for that. It's a kind of perception, kind of feeling, or kind of creation of Nibbana. We just create our Nibbana should be like this. Nibbana should be in this way. It should be close to me. It should be a little bit far away. Should be somewhere here in this space. So we just mentally create this kind of Nibbana. But it is not the true Nibbanic elements. It is what we have created in our mind. So mentally created Nibbana, that is what we crave for. But when you come to understand, when you come to realize the perfect Nibbana at the time and future, just practicing this noble path, then with this mentally created, mentally generated, that Nibbanic picture will completely disappear. Instead, the true Nibbana will appear. But true Nibbana is the place where no clinging at all, no craving at all. So, craving is the first one, the clinging is the second one. The cause of clinging is craving. And how to just get rid of this clinging and craving? Only path is that pay your attention to understand this clinging, craving, understand the cause of clinging, craving, understand that, listen to Dhamma, understand that Nibbana, and also Dhamma, follow the path, which is noble, eightfold path. And only path is this, only trail or only walkway to Nibbana is this, where no clinging happens, no craving happens. So, in this way, we can conclude this discussion today. So, clinging is one of the links. Before clinging, we should understand craving. Craving is the cause of clinging. So, now we can have some Dhamma discussion time. And this is actually theoretical. This is what we find in the Sammaditthi Sutra described to a group of monks by Venerable Sariputta. Now we are living after 2500 years of Venerable Sariputtas and those monks' demise. They passed away. And still the sutra is there for us to taste. And also we can try to understand what they have had and in the Dhamma discussion. Most importantly, I recommend everyone of our Dhamma friend to try to understand this craving and clinging from your practical life. This is a theory. This is what we find in this sutra. But it is not enough. It is not sufficient enough for us. We should try to understand these Dhamma factors from our living life, our day-to-day life. Then only we can have real taste of Dhamma. Then only we can come to a real understanding of Dhamma. And also, even though we are living after 2500s here in the modern society, Dhamma is still life. Dhamma is still functioning. It will bring us the true understanding. Therefore, let us try to understand this craving from our own life. Let us try to understand this craving from our own life. That is how we should put our life into practice. And this is the way we should get Dhamma into our life to practice. So with this, I conclude today's Dhamma explanations to you. And also, this is the time now we can have Dhamma discussions. If you have questions, please ask. And also, if you have some comments, please feel free to just comment it. And also, if you like to share some understanding, everyone is welcome. Thank you very much. May you be well, happy, and peaceful.
Thank you, Bhante.
Now we can have Dhamma discussion.
Well, Bhante, I just wonder what you think. Do you think that upadana, that the English translation of clinging is the best translation, or do you think that from your understanding of Pali and the Dhamma that there might be better words than clinging?
Yes. Yes, it's very interesting. Thank you for raising this point to my mind. Clinging, upadana, you can say that there is another word called grasping. Grasping. Grasping means you hold something strongly. I think clinging is okay. The grasping would be better.
Yes.
Grasping would be better, yeah. And also, it says that intensified craving. And also, we can use another phrase, right? Strong craving.
Yes.
Strong craving.
Yes.
Grasping, I think grasping would be the very closest word to use for this.
Yes.
Thank you.
Because it means holding tight to.
That's right.
Yes. Very firmly.
Very firmly, yeah.
Yeah, and your examples were very interesting because they were examples of not wanting to let go. In other words, not having an open mind. And I wonder whether that's a good way in our own lives. I was just thinking about myself. We have a lot of questions right now in this world, especially here in New Zealand, having a point of view about current matters. We have a pandemic and we have many views on this. And so we can also say, well, there's a lot of grasping of a point of view.
Yeah.
And holding on to that point of view. And I'm just realizing that might be a good way not to become too involved in trying to see anything very firmly in one way or another, but rather try to understand the world, because the world is finding this pandemic quite difficult.
Yeah.
And our world, even here, our small world in Wellington, in our own lives, it is difficult because we are confronted with it as soon as we leave our house.
Yeah.
We have to wear our mask, and we have to do this and that. And now we're having a new way of doing things. And I just realized that, we just have to not get too involved in trying to see a one way or the other, but just to understand everyone's point of view. And I noticed that for example, in the interactions in the shops, which is the one where you come across strangers in particular, I find that the people who are perhaps you're coming to the counter to buy your goods, the people who are on the other side would like to have a happy connection with you. And I think there's a good example of where for example, can be very aware that there is another human being who is also having a hard time and just be very kind to them. I know people talk about that in the abstract, but there is a very concrete example, and those can be replaced with any number of interactions with people, throughout the day. And that's a very good practice, I think, not to cling to a view, but rather to let go, because I think that is the idea, I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to cling, not to grasp.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and so thank you for showing that is actually possible to do, because by analysing, understanding, then we can put it better into practice. We have a very good understanding of what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Yeah. It's for everyone's safety. Everyone, you look after yourself. At the same time, you look after others as well.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. How about some other Dhamma friends?
Well, one of the things, and it's not, yes, well, I'll give an example, but I notice within myself that when a craving arises and I don't follow it, the feedback or the result of that is positive, and there's a kind of spaciousness. And I'll just give you a very small example. I'm quite fond of lying in bed in the morning between 6 and 7 and listening to the news. And it goes on and on and on, and morning report. And just lately I've been thinking, actually, no, I'm turning this off now. I know this. Why do I need to listen to this again? It's almost as if there's a kind of... But it's that when I just realise that and stop, it's a very positive thing, actually, and it leads into a spaciousness, because one gets up and moves into the day. But what I wonder is that when we just follow a craving, that you're sort of almost less likely to notice yourself following it. It can become habitual. It's like it sort of has a certain attraction for people, and so people get lost in it, and they may become alcoholics or drug addicts in very extreme cases. But even in small ways, when I was working in the public sector in the early days, I had to have a cup of coffee every morning with 2 teaspoons of sugar at morning tea time for years. And people would say, why are you having sugar? And I realised it actually enabled me mentally to get enough of a lift to be able to do several hours of good work before the lull in the afternoon. And I don't have that now. I can enjoy, a cup of coffee every once in a while, but it's just something about the noticing and the saying no to the craving, no matter how simple an example it is. And I've given a very simple example of the news, but it is one that I do have that sort of tendency to want to listen to all these news bulletins. But the craving, once given into it, just seems to become habitual. And once it becomes an established habit, it's harder and harder to recognize it, let alone let go of it. And by then it would have, of course, turned into grasping. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's very true. Particularly, there's so many things one can do without. I agree with Morning Report when they just keep on repeating these items, and we sort of listen to it. And why should we let our minds, be invaded by this stuff? It would be much better to be reading the suttas, in the morning, or to sort of start the day with that, and really restrict the news to things that are essential.
Yeah.
I'm sort of I can sort of understand where Pam is coming from. It would be sort of a good practice, and I think the antidote to this is giving up, isn't it? Sort of and relinquishment. So this will appear in other suttas, about how you go about eliminating the cravings.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
We'll get to hear about that, no doubt.
Yeah. And also because something is there in it. The addiction to listen to the news, addiction, or you are curious about the world, and also you don't you find in this way, when you are going to listen to a piece of the news, then you create a kind of mental environment, maybe New Zealand, maybe Wellington, maybe Auckland, maybe whole country, maybe whole region of this Pacific region, maybe whole world. Because mentally you create, this world should go in this way. This news should talk about this way. But you become part of that news piece.
Yes.
Then when you hear news about the negative, that means that news is not in your pocket, because it doesn't match with your world. So then you get another kind of negative feeling. Then when you hear news about something agreeable and compatible with your mental world, okay, this is the way it should go. This is the way it should go. Kind of you become a part. You live in it.
Oh, that's very true, Bhante. There is an active participation indeed. And I realise within myself, sometimes I'm sort of listening, I'm sort of listening, almost waiting for a solution or something, sort of an understanding or something, but just the same old news an hour earlier is repeated. There is no solution. There is no kind of moment where, good. Now I can. So I've just had to sort of recognise it in myself and just turn it off. And it does feel very good when I do that.
And also, something may happen in this way. I don't know whether you experience or not. Most probably yes. This is what it. When you listen to news, and also some news is completely negative because it is not compatible, because the news is about something else that you don't like really. So you just get your mind bombarded, and full mind is in the morning or in the afternoon or evening. Your mind is full of news, not related to your life at all. But
that's right. It's not related. That's right. Absolutely right, Bhante.
Yes.
And then you are going to share it with someone else close to you, that they are in your neighbor or at your home. Yes. Maybe husband, maybe son, or son and daughter, or someone there. But that means you want to unload it onto their mind. They are not ready to take it from you. then you get upset with them as well. You
Yes,
see?
that's so true.
So, what you see?
It's a very unhealthy way to go through life. That's why I was thinking more of just concentrating on the very what seems mundane.
Yeah,
And I suppose in a way it is turning away from all those things that we've just been talking about, and just putting the emphasis on those understanding of why these things are so unhealthy, and recognizing that they are, and seeing that we actually don't need to grasp these views. And we don't need to know what that other person thinks about whatever, because it's actually not going to benefit us. But what would be much more beneficial is I agree entirely. Being among the Dhamma friends that you can find by reading the suttas, talking to other Dhamma friends who understand what we're saying, because this is a little bit not in line with what we see on in the mainstream. Most people are not going this way. They're being carried along like being in a river.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they are taken, carried away in the river. Yeah. So, great. So, yes.
I just had one question about the dog practitioners. As you know, in the Majjhima Nikaya, there is a sutta about these dog ascetics, and the Buddha says that this is not going to give you any benefit, eating like a dog. In fact, you're going to become more like a dog. I think that's right from memory. And I was very surprised to hear that in India they still have this practice. They have these ascetics who pretend to be dogs. That's quite awful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. Even today we find those ascetics practice in that way.
It's quite degrading, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
When the Buddha was interacting, did he find that the view was? I think that's what you said. The view of these practitioners was so strongly held that he was unable to convince them that this was not the way to nibbana for yes. So he he was not able to convince them.
The Buddha convinced some of them, but some of them were not. But even though those ascetics and those ascetic practitioners in other faiths, they strongly believe if the Venerable Gautama utters something, it will definitely happen. So they believe that, even though they are in other practice, in other faith, they accepted that, if the Gautama, the sage, the Buddha uttered something, it will definitely happen. So once something happened like this, one of the ritualists, he is a Niganta, he was behaving like a dog, and he wanted to know from the Buddha, so far I have been practicing this Dhamma in this way, and I ate and behaved like a dog, so what is my next birth going to be?
Wow.
So then he went to the Buddha and asked him, what is my next birth going to be? And happy and blissful thing. The Buddha said, because in this life you are behaving like a dog, so you are going to be a dog in next life.
Oh dear. I must read the sutta. It sounds very interesting.
Yeah, then they got frightened.
Yes.
And then they got frightened. The Buddha explain the Dhamma. This is why your current behavior is the creation of the next birth. So if you behave in a certain way in this life, and also that energy will take you to similar birth next time. So cause and effect is that plays in that way. So that person got frightened and he gave up his view, and he was convinced and converted to the Buddha, Dhamma, and he later realized Pono Bodhuta Nete Nibbana and became Arahant.
Oh, that's a good outcome.
Yeah. So
simple question
yes.
for us all. Does craving necessarily give rise to clinging?
Some craving, you know, they are craving. If you can just the subside or just make that craving disappear, and also just get rid of that, then no chance of clinging to rise.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Bhante. I mean, yes, it's almost like just taking a pair of scissors to me and just going snip, putting something down. You know what I mean? Snipping through the news and just that's it. Turn it off.
Yeah, get it to that. Yes.
So then, grasping won't necessarily follow, because it does seem that a degree of craving, and you've described the different classes, the different forms of craving, the 4 kinds of craving.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's inherent in the human condition, is it not? And in a way, it's having these things to work with that allow us to develop understanding, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
They are actually, it's developing, it's understanding them, but they are there. You know, a baby craves milk, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Even as a baby, there's craving. Is there not? It seems that it's inherent in the human condition, but as we understand it, as you said, Alison, we can just recognise that different people have different views, but we don't have to cling tightly to one view or other and get sort of begin grasping that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can understand that part in this way as well. You know, I think in one of the last Dhamma sessions I mentioned it about this as well. But like this, when you have a plant, the plant grows with some buds, the 2 leaves and 4 leaves, very tiny and little, and green color, maybe yellow, maybe white when it tender, and then you can just with your tips of nails, you can just you can remove it 2 fingers.
Mm-hmm.
And when you allow that plant to grow, and day by day, when it grows, it becomes very strong and solid. Then later, it's very hard for you to break it with your, not fingers, even with hands. Then you have to use a kind of, maybe a knife or some other saw or something. You see, it's very difficult.
Yes.
So in this way, craving is like, the small tender leaves, tender plant. Upadana or clinging or grasping is that a strongly grown, same thing, strongly grown, that clinging.
It's a very nice analogy, Bhante. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Okay, thank you very much for your participation today. I am happy to just be with you today in this Dhamma session. I wish you all the best. May you enjoy good health, peaceful life, and also meditative time, and also very interesting Dhamma discussions especially. And you just shared your experiences in your life, very interesting. I appreciate it very much. And also may you enjoy your Dhamma life, practice in Dhamma path, realize in Four Noble Truths. May you attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. That is my kind wish for every one of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bhante.
Sorry, Bhante.
Thank you,
Thank
Bhante.
you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.